So good morning everyone. Welcome to the live class. I'm hereby about to share with you the screen. I will be dealing with the text of Mother's Day. I have given already some preliminary informations related with Mother's Day. So hereby I'm about to share with you the text. So I hope the screen is presented. Now I'm about to show you the content. Kindly any one of you please say whether it is visible. Can you all see the screen by the way? Okay, fine. So let us start with the proceedings. So I am scrolling a bit down. As you can see, the characters are written here, and we already know about these characters. First one is Mrs. Annie Pearson. We know that this entire drama is related to her. The storyline is related to her. Then we know about George Pearson, husband of Annie Pearson. We know about Doris Pearson, that is the daughter of Annie Pearson. Cyril Pearson is the son of Annie Pearson, and finally the next door neighbor, that is Mrs. Fitzgerald. She might be arrogant, she might be aggressive, but she knows the real problem of Mrs. Pearson and tries her best to help her come out of this difficult situation. Now how she helped her to come out of this difficult situation, it will be very clear to us as we will proceed with the drama. Okay, just wait. I hope there is someone on the line. Okay, I guess someone was there. Maybe will be joining a bit later. Okay, so the action takes place in the living room of the Pearson's house. Okay, now remember, we have to remember this, that the action of the drama takes place in the living room of the Pearson's family, and it is afternoon time, and Mrs. Fitzgerald was invited for a cup of warm tea in the afternoon, and obviously it is autumn. Okay, that is also been mentioned. So if you have the text with you all, you can turn it on, because I might skip some lines because I will be dealing with the important part related with this particular drama. So as I am scrolling a bit down, the first important thing you should remember, the scene, the living room of the Pearson family, afternoon. So this is something very important. Not all the lines are important, few lines are very important. First of all is this one, the living room of the Pearson family, and the time is afternoon time. Okay, then it is written, it is a comfortably furnished, much lived in room in a small suburban semi-detached villa. It is like a cottage. Okay, the place where Mrs. Pearson, she used to stay along with her family. It was basically a cottage or a villa, you can say, but very nicely furnished, very comfortable place. And Mrs. Fitzgerald came to have a chat with Mrs. Pearson, and as you all know by this time that she knew a bit of tarot card reading also. So she was involved in a tarot card reading session along with Mrs. Pearson, and that tarot card reading session was already over by the time we get to know about the characters. Okay, and at the very beginning these two characters, they interact for a long time before we find the other characters taking the center stage. Because remember, Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald, these are the two major characters. Mrs. Fitzgerald can be termed as a catalyst also. I repeat, Mrs. Fitzgerald can be termed as a catalyst, and the entire action of the drama revolves around the Pearson's family, or to be more precise, the entire action of the drama is related with Mrs. Pearson. Okay, so I am scrolling a bit down. As I told you, only the important segments I will be discussing with you. When the curtain rises, because suppose you are seeing a live drama in front of you, okay, you are seeing a live drama in front of you. So when the curtain rises, it is an afternoon in early autumn. I hope you remembered that few minutes earlier I told you that is the season is autumn and it is afternoon time. Mrs. Pearson is at the right and Mrs. Fitzgerald is at the left. Okay, they are sitting opposite to one another. And remember, in front of them what can be seen? In front of them 2 teacups and saucers can be seen, and obviously, as I told you, the tarot cards are there because Mrs. Fitzgerald already underwent a tarot card reading session, and now it seems that she is about to say something that is very important for Mrs. Pearson to remember. Okay, now see, it is written on the cards with which Mrs. Fitzgerald has been telling Mrs. Pearson's fortune. Now this is something very, very important. Mrs. Fitzgerald has been telling the fortune of Mrs. Pearson. Now she is the next door neighbor also, so she knows more about Mrs. Pearson that actually Mrs. Pearson had revealed. She knows more than that, and now there are some characteristic traits we get to know that previously I told you all that Mrs. Pearson, she is very calm, quiet, docile, pleasant, never talks rudely, never talks arrogantly, never talks in a louder voice. But Mrs. Fitzgerald, she is totally different, exactly different. We can say like North Pole, South Pole, because she is a bit older to Mrs. Pearson, bulky in appearance, and obviously her personality is strong. She is very outspoken also. I hope you all remember I told about her character. That means whatever she feels, she comments, okay, without thinking about the late consequences. And her personality is very strong personality, sinister personality. She is smoking. It is very important that these two should have sharply contrasting voices. Even their voice is also very much contrasting to one another, because Mrs. Pearson's voice is very light, okay, very soft, whereas Mrs. Fitzgerald, while she speaks, her voice has a baritone. It has her voice is a bit deep, okay, and obviously the title Fitzgerald is Irish, okay, and whenever she is to speak, her Irish origin can be seen, okay, or her Irish origin can be felt the way when she used to speak. Who used to speak? Mrs. Fitzgerald. Her voice was completely different from that of Mrs. Pearson. Okay, so any doubt up to this about the intro part? Is the intro part is clear to all of you? Shall I move on, dear students?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So let us move on then. The first dialogue of this drama is uttered by Mrs. Fitzgerald. Okay, the first dialogue. And see what is written. Collecting up the cards. That means already I told you all, dear students, that the tarot card reading session was over. And that's all I can tell you. Mrs. Pearson, could be a good fortune, could be a bad one. All depends on yourself now. Make up your mind and there it is. Okay, wait, I guess there is someone on the line. Yes, Anubhav joined us right now. Good morning, Anubhav. Welcome to the class.
Yes.
Yes, Aritro also joined us right now. Good morning. Welcome to the class. Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And both of you, since you both joined right now, is the screen visible to both of you? Can you all see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So just I have started with the text of Mother's Day. I have just now completed the introduction part related with the Mother's Day. So now I was about to discuss the first dialogue of Mother's Day, that is been told by Mrs. Fitzgerald. So she came to the conclusion that it all depends on Mrs. Pearson, how she will behave. See, could be a good fortune, could be a bad one. All depends on yourself now. Wait, I guess there is someone on the line. Yes, Atreya is there on the line. Yes, good morning. Welcome to the class. Yes, so let's move on. Yes, good morning. Good morning. Could be a good fortune, could be a bad one. All depends on yourself now. Make up your mind, and there it is. That means Mrs. Fitzgerald told Mrs. Pearson that it is high time. You have to make up your mind. Okay, it is high time now. You have to be very serious. You have to make up your mind. That means you know you are being exploited by your family members. It is high time that you should speak up. If you don't speak up, and if you let it move on the way it is moving on right now, then ultimately you will be in serious problem. So that is what Mrs. Fitzgerald told Mrs. Pearson. Since we know the background of the drama, so I hope so, dear students, you can easily connect with the characters and you all know about the problem of Mrs. Pearson. Now see the dialogue of Mrs. Pearson. Yes, thank you, Mrs. Fitzgerald. I am much obliged. I am very much grateful. I am sure it's wonderful having a real fortune teller living next door. Did you learn that out east too? That from where have you learned this? Have you learned it in the east? Because we know that Mrs. Fitzgerald's husband, he was in the military. So he was posted in the east. Mrs. Fitzgerald also went along with him. Whereas the husband learned about military affairs and all those details information related with armory, military and all this, Mrs. Fitzgerald, she learned about magic. She learned about sorcery and all this. So I am now moving a bit down. I am scrolling a bit down. See, I did 12 years I had of it with my old man. Old man, it is related with Mrs. Fitzgerald's husband. Lovingly, she referred her husband as old man because her husband got a high position in the defense academy, that is the lieutenant quartermaster. He learnt a lot and I learnt a lot more. He learnt about military affairs. Now we get to know some of the background information of Mrs. Fitzgerald, that she was in Asian countries. She was in the east. She traveled a lot with her husband because her husband was related with defense ministry, and her husband learnt a lot. She also learnt a lot. But will you make up your mind now, Mrs. Pearson dear? Put your foot down once and for all and be the mistress of your own house and the boss of your own family. Okay, Mrs. Fitzgerald, straight to the point, she is saying to Mrs. Pearson that now there is no more time. You have to speak up. You have to raise your voice. Okay, you have to speak up. You have to raise your voice. And most importantly, you have to put your foot down, means you have to control the entire thing, because your family members, they already had taken you for granted. So it is high time you have to speak up. You have to raise your voice. You have to be the boss of your own family. You have to be the mistress of your own house. But it is very, very difficult for Mrs. Pearson. Okay, it is very, very difficult. Why? Because she can't actually scold any one of her family members, because she haven't done it earlier also. She excessively pampered her children. She loved unconditionally her husband, never ever doubted him, and that is the reason her children haven't learnt any good social values also, and her husband also never paid her much attention. So obviously, dear students, we do feel like that she also has to be blamed for her pathetic state of mind, and also for the unfortunate environment in the house, all against her. Why? Because she gave the opportunity to every one of them, and that is the reason. The sad part is that not only her husband take her for granted, but even her children also used to take her for granted. That is the most unfortunate thing. Okay, but she knows it very well at the back of her mind that her family members, they are selfish and they are thoughtless. But despite she can realize it very well that her family members are selfish and thoughtless, she can't do anything. Okay, she actually can't do anything. See, besides, I am so fond of them. Even if they are so thoughtless and selfish, they don't mean to be. Now Mrs. Pearson knew it very well that her family members, they are thoughtless and selfish, but she can't speak up. Why? Because she was never like this. She was very calm, very quiet, very docile, okay, and very soft spoken, very emotional, sentimental. She can't speak in a very rude manner, but she knew at the back of her mind, which she communicated to Mrs. Fitzgerald, that yes, indeed, you are absolutely right, my dear friend, my neighbor, you are absolutely right. My family members, in one word, or rather in two words, they are selfish and thoughtless. Okay, now let me move on to the next dialogue. Mrs. Fitzgerald, maybe not, it would be better for them if they learn to treat you properly. Okay, now this is very important. Mrs. Fitzgerald, as I told you in the intro part, she already told Mrs. Fitzgerald that she knows a lot about her condition in the house. Despite Mrs. Pearson shared many things, but Mrs. Fitzgerald knows a lot of things, okay, related with Mrs. Pearson and how she was treated in the house. Mrs. Pearson, yes, I suppose it would in a way. Mrs. Fitzgerald, no doubt about it at all. Who's the better for being spoiled? Grown man, lad or girl? Now obviously Mrs. Fitzgerald asked a question to Mrs. Pearson, who is the spoiled one? Okay, it is your husband or your son or your daughter. You think it does them good when you run after them all the time, take their orders as if you were the servant in the house, stay at home every night while they go out enjoying themselves? Never in all your life. Okay, now the important thing is that she is now doing a bit of counseling, and she readily was so upset with some of the peculiar behavior of Mrs. Pearson. Now she told Mrs. Pearson that you always stay at home, like as if you are not the boss or the mistress, but you are the servant in the house. And every night they go out enjoying in the party. They hardly care about you, and you feel like that it is doing them very nice, okay, that you are actually helping them out in whatever way you can. But this is not the right thing you are doing, because you are also responsible, you are also guilty, they are also guilty, okay, because you have given them the opportunity. You haven't made them self-independent at all, and that is the surprising element. We get to know that a 20-year-old girl, she can't iron her own dress, silk dress, yellow silk dress, and even a boy of more or less the same age, okay, he can't even prepare a cup of tea. Okay, that means that they are for every minute incident, for everything, either small or big or very minor or serious, whatever the things are, for everything they are dependent on whom? They are dependent on Mrs. Pearson, and she had sacrificed her happiness, She had sacrificed her pleasures of life. She sacrificed her relaxations and peace of mind. Why? Because every point of time she was very much eager to impress her family members, and while impressing them, she herself became frustrated because she is giving out love. So of course she wants love in return. What she is getting? Humiliation. Okay, she is getting humiliation in return. Not only her husband never takes care of her, never pays any attention to her, but even you can say her children also, they also take her for granted. That is the reason Doris also had no feelings towards her mother. Cyril also has no feeling towards her mother. Now this is something very unfortunate, and that is what Mrs. Mrs. Fitzgerald is trying to point out to Mrs. Pearson. Never in all your life, it's the ruin of them as well as you. Husbands, sons, daughters should be taking notice of wives and mothers. Okay, should be taking notice of wives and mothers, not giving them orders and treating them like dirt. Now this is something very, very important. Husbands, sons, daughters should be taking notice of wives and mothers. Okay, they should not give them orders, they should not treat them like dirt. And that is the reason why this line has been told by Mrs. Fitzgerald, because this is the way that the family members of Mrs. Pearson are treating her. They are treating her as if she was a housemaid, she was a caretaker, she was a servant. They are not treating her as mothers. Even George Pearson never treat her as his better half. They treat her like dirt and dust. Okay, so there is no importance of Mrs. Pearson in the family. That is what Mrs. Fitzgerald is trying to say to her. Okay, now Mrs. Pearson, the next dialogue is that of Mrs. Pearson. I keep dropping a hint. Mrs. Fitzgerald, hint. See, look at, there is a surprise in the way she uttered the dialogue, and obviously there is a question mark also. It's more than hints your family needs. Mrs. Pearson, hints? What are you talking about? It is more than hints. Your family needs direct action on your part. Mrs. Pearson, I suppose it is, but I do hate any unpleasantness. Very important, dear students. If you have the text by your side, kindly underline it. Yes, what Mrs. Pearson is trying to say, that I really hate any sort of unpleasantness activities in the house. I don't want people in the house engage in quarrel. No, I don't like that one. I want everyone to stay in happiness. But in order to make others happy, in order to satisfy others, it is not necessary that you will sacrifice your own happiness, your own pleasure, your own peace of mind, your own luxury. Okay, that is not the right thing to do, and that is not the clever thing to do also. But Mrs. Pearson exactly does that. It's so hard to know where to start. I keep making up my mind to have it out with them, but somehow I do not know how to begin, or I do not know how to start. Now see what Mrs. Pearson, she is trying to say to Mrs. Fitzgerald, that I know that it is right time that I should speak up, but I don't know how to start. I don't know how to say rudely, or how to speak to them rudely, on what basis, on what issues I will speak to them. Obviously there is a lot of reasons. Definitely they don't treat her properly, they don't give her importance. But Mrs. Pearson is saying to Mrs. Fitzgerald that how should I start? That means she is lacking confidence, number one. And obviously this is totally opposite to her mentality. She is always calm and quiet, but here Mrs. Fitzgerald is trying to push her in the sense that, trying to counsel her in the sense that, no, it's high time you should actually speak out your mind, or otherwise it will be very, very difficult, because they will exploit you more and more. I keep making up my mind to have it out with them, but somehow I don't know how to begin. I don't know how to begin, or you can say I don't know how to start. She glances at her watch or at a clock. Oh, good gracious, look at the time. Nothing ready, and they will be home any minute, and probably in a hurry to go out again. Okay, Mrs. Pearson is saying to Mrs. Fitzgerald that, oh, I haven't seen the time in the wall clock. It's already time. They must come by now. I should prepare some tea and some snacks for them, because after eating those things they will again go out. That means they don't have any time. Okay, the children, they don't have any time for their mother. The husband George Pearson, he had no time for his wife. So this is something unfortunate. And now she is saying that please excuse me, Mrs. Fitzgerald, I have to go to the kitchen room, prepare some warm tea for my family members along with some snacks, because they will come any moment. They will devour all those things, they will eat up those things, and again they will go out enjoying themselves in the party or in the midst of social gatherings. Whereas what will be her situation after making her family members happy and they will go out? She will stay back in the house. So this is what Mrs. Fitzgerald is trying to say, that this is the biggest negative aspect of her nature, that she couldn't say anything. Okay, now let me move on. As she is about to rise, Mrs. Fitzgerald reaches out across the table and pulls her down. Mrs. Fitzgerald, let them wait or look after themselves for once. That is where your foot goes down. Start now. Now this is very important. Mrs. Pearson was about to get up from the table, because she already told Mrs. Fitzgerald that now I have to prepare some tea and snacks for my family members. She was about to get up when Mrs. Fitzgerald held her tightly and told her that no, leave it. Let them be self-independent. Every time if you try to help them out, what they will learn on their own. Let them wait at least for a certain day or for a certain evening. Let them wait and let them look after themselves. You don't have to be extra bothered about them. Let them be what they are. Let them do whatever they want to do. Please leave them. You don't have to be every time at your heels, okay, or at your feet to help them every time. Let them do whatever they feel like for a time being. Mrs. Pearson's dialogue, you see. Mrs. Fitzgerald, I know you mean well. In fact, I agree with you, but I just can't. And it's no use you trying to make me. Okay, so she told Mrs. Fitzgerald that I know what you are saying. You are saying from the point of view of a good neighbor. I can understand that one. But the most important thing is that I like to speak to you frankly, that I can't actually behave in a rude manner with my family members. No, it is not possible, because remember, the love of Mrs. Pearson was unconditional love. If I promise you I would really have it out with them, I know I wouldn't be able to keep my promise. So what Mrs. Pearson told Mrs. Fitzgerald, that if I decide at the back of my mind, today I will speak up, today I will say whatever is important for me to say, but at the end of the day I won't be able to do that, because when the real situation will come, or when the real situation will arise, it seems that I would get nervous, because ultimately she hated unpleasantness, or she hated unpleasant atmosphere in the house, and that is the reason logically she needs to speak up. But because of unconditional love she had for her family members, she was unable to speak up. Okay, and then Mrs. Fitzgerald realized that for her friend Mrs. Pearson it is not possible to protest. That was the reason she performed that magic, and I hope you know about that. Personalities change bodies. So that part I will be discussing with you all tomorrow. I hope up to this it is very much clear to all of you. Any doubt at the back of your mind, you can ask me. Any doubt, or is it clear to all of you? Is it clear to all of you? Any doubt at the back of your mind? Okay, fine. So tomorrow I will be dealing with the next slide. Okay, thank you everyone. Have a nice day everyone. Thank you.